later, I was almost having an anxiety attack of thinking that I was going to go to work on Monday with a head full of curls, the ones that God gave me. Do you follow? Yes. So I had to toughen through it. I said, you know what, I'm gonna give it 1 week and see how I can walk through this. And I would almost choke when people were giving me compliments. I didn't know what to do with it. It was a message that I had to disempower it, take the power away. Yes. But I would never have known that if I wouldn't have done the work. Now any door can close and it don't make no difference. You follow what I'm saying? Okay.
How do I take that birthright thing that I inherited, that was kind of instilled in me, and change it so that I become a different person, so that I can raise my kids differently, so that I can I can be a better friend to my girlfriends, so that I can love my mom, who I now hate? How can I change that from the inside out?
Big piece of reestablishing the birthright that's your true birthright is in doing the work. Because if you don't do the work, the old birthright continues to define you. Old meaning the one passed down from grandma to mother to, they call it generational cycles, if you will. And then we think, well, if I can just get it a little bit better. But self-love says, no, I want to have the full version of being in my best. So it really does go back to doing the work, so that you can even notice what the patterns are. I think that's a big piece of it. Thoughts?
Identifying what those points are, those core hurts, so that you can come up with a language or a affirmation that counters whatever that is that you had believed in the past about yourself. But like you're saying, it takes work, and it takes looking in deeper into your psyche, your brain. Why do I think this way? Why do I act this way? There's a reason why that led you to this situation. But then we were talking about the mother situation. Yeah. But you can't leave out spirituality, okay? Because I'm serious. You can come up with some type of a roadmap for how you're going to live, but if you're not grounded in some type of spirituality, you got to have a base. So that's what's really, really important, and keeps you grounded, so that you don't go back to the way Mama was.
And let's talk about what is that. Don't pass the mic, because you just said something. Now when we say something, it's important that we explain what we just said. So you talk about spirituality. Now we're not talking about religion at this point, right? So what are we talking about? How do we get there? Because again, I'm way down here now. You guys got to keep remembering. You got to bring me along. Because if I wasn't way down here, I wouldn't be right here right now, trying to figure it out. So we got to bring everybody along every step of the way, because this is a deep conversation. Unfortunately, we're not going to get where I would love for us to go in this hour. So when everybody leaves, they're all loving themselves from the inside out. But I want you to at least have somewhere to start. So let's talk about, how are we going to start being with that spirituality? How are we going to get there? How are we going to get grounded? Let's start there.
Amen. Look at me. Amen. It's okay. It's right. No, really, we all need to be grounded spiritually. And I imagine that in this room, there are people who are brought up in a Christian faith. You may have some people who are brought up Buddhist. You may have some people who are, Catholic, Protestant, whatever. But if you know about African American people, we are a very religious folks. We love to gather together in groups and worship and celebrate a higher power or whoever it is. But what I found is that a lot of times people think that spirituality is about religion. But for me, I can say, for me, it's being outdoors. It's a wonderful place to be, because when I'm outside, I connect with the creation, and it is amazing. Sometimes I walk for 2 hours in the morning, and when I'm out there, I hear the birds. I see, I like walking at night too. People think I'm crazy. I got a walking stick, but that's how I connect with my spiritual place. So what you need to do is find out, where do you feel the most spiritual? Where is that place? For some people, it's near water. For some people, it's in the mountains, in the high places. I love that scripture that says, I lift mine eyes into the hills. You know, it's like, from whence cometh my hills. Something about being in the elevated places where you feel close to the Creator. All right, so find that place and stay there, because there you'll get wisdom, you get direction as to what to do with your life as you commune with whoever you worship. But you gotta find that place where you can be grounded in a spirituality.
Okay, Marquis, now I'm getting ready to fast pace us here because we're running out of time. So I want to ask you a question from a man's perspective, because I know a lot of sisters. You talked earlier about how you attracted certain type of women before you became aware of what type of woman you wanted. How were you then, before you got there, attracted to that type of woman that wasn't who you really wanted? What was it about them that made you attracted to them? That now, where I'm going with this is try to help these sisters here that might be attracting that kind of guy you used to be, how they can stop being that kind of woman and stop attracting that kind of guy.
Well, yeah, go ahead, jump in the deep water. All right, life jacket. Did I bring my life jacket? So that journey that I went on, so why was I attracted to that type of woman? It was the question, and it was because of the narrative of what beauty is. It was the message that was sent to me from the elder men in my family, the elder men that I was around, saying this is pretty and this is not. And really what it was is all superficial stuff that didn't add up to a doggone thing. The things that I wouldn't take home to my mom. All superficial. Maybe the curves, maybe the big lips. I'll stop right there. It was superficial. But the things that really matter are the things that are on the inside. You said earlier about people can be ugly on the inside. And I thought to myself, I met a lot of exterior, pretty people. And then I sat down and started having conversation and was like, I'm gonna need you doing this. I'm gonna need you to just do that. Just bring it here. Because what's coming out of there is nasty. The spirit on it is foul, it has a stench. And all that superficial stuff meant nothing when I became aware. Now, when I was that other person, that stuff on the inside didn't matter to me. But here's what I began to understand. God kept telling me that there was more. There's more. You're supposed to be doing more. You're supposed to be with more. I expect more of you. And I'm hearing that. I ignored it. I was like, I'm not crazy. I didn't share it with nobody because I keep hearing this voice in my head. And so that spirit that I was hearing was prompting me to go deeper. Look inside of a person. I'll tell you, my wife, her and I were best friends. Loved her as a friend. And I was so attracted and so respected her on the inside that I didn't even pay attention to the exterior. I thought she was a pretty woman, but she was my friend and I didn't see her like that. And then as we got closer and became best friends, I got to know her spirit. I got to know her heart. I got to know what made her tick. And one day I remember this particular day, sitting on the couch in the light of the TV after a protest or some type of action that we had just come from. And the light from the TV hit her skin. Yes. And before I knew it, I said, you have really pretty skin. And she looked at me and said, thank you. I was like, oh, did I say that out loud? No. And my vision of her came from the inside. Yes. I loved what was on the inside of her. Once that was established, then it came to the outside. So ladies, work on the inside. Love thyself from here. We talked about happiness. Things making us happy. Things make us feel good. You know what? God's not concerned with you being happy. He's not. Happiness is determined on things on the outside of you. That man makes me happy. That car my dream car that I purchased made me happy. When I get those red bottoms, or keep dreaming about those red bottoms, saying I want those red. When you get them, they feel good. But the things on the outside get old. They fall away. That car, if you don't take care of it, it's going to not do what it did when you first got it. Have you ever bought an outfit that you thought was the bomb? Like, can't nobody tell me nothing. I'm going out tonight. I look good. I feel good. And then the next time you wear it, that effect is no longer. Am I the only one that has experienced that? It's like, did it stretch? Did it shrink? What happened to it? It's literally those things, happiness is outside. Here's what God is concerned with. Here's what you need to be concerned with. Joy. Joy is from the inside. So when we have a joy from the inside, whatever happens on the outside, when that car gets old, when we lose that job, when we lose that loved one, in those difficult times, that happiness isn't there. That's all determined on things that are outside. And yes, those things can hurt. I'm not saying those emotions and those feelings aren't real and ignore those. Emotions and feelings are there to inform us of something so that we're in the know of something. Not to hide from them, but know it. I watched G.I. Joe when I was younger, and there was a quote on it at the end. They said, always said, knowing is half the battle. It's half of it. The other half is now you have this knowledge. What are you going to do with it? So when you apply knowledge, what is that called? Wisdom. So be wise with what it is that our emotions are telling us. Now that joy on the inside.
Can I share something?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And wait a minute, Nancy, before you do, don't lose your thought. They'll keep the mic because I'm getting ready to come to you.
Okay.
And then as I see, we got about 2:22 on the clock, so we're running out of time. I want you to say what you're going to say. Then I got a quick question, and then I want the other two panelists to think about your final closing remark. It's going to be how can they take away loving themselves today from the inside out. But before we get to that, and it's got to be real brief because we're running out of time. Say what you're going to say, then I got a question for you.
Joy. You are responsible for your joy meter. All right? Joy meter. Like, you're responsible for your joy meter. You are responsible. So you have to find out what it is that brings you joy. And, they've done studies, psychological tests, and found out even to turn the corners of your mouth up in a smile can make endorphins and things happen in your brain where you become happy. So another thing is that African-American women suffer from depression. Is off the chain. You got to figure out what it is that's causing the depression. Get help if you need it. But, let's see, what was I going to say? Oh, sunshine, vitamin D. Yes. This is one of the worst places to live for African-American women because we don't get enough sun. We have seasonal affect disorder. You got to get outside or either get you one of those lamps where you can get some sunlight. And then laughter. You got to laugh. Laughter, even the scripture says it's like medicine. You have to laugh. I go to see my grandchildren when I'm down, because I know when I'm with those babies, they are going to make me have fun and laugh. So be aware that you have a joy meter, and you are responsible for keeping it high, as high as you can, to ward off depression and sadness, because we got plenty of reasons to be there, okay?
Another perfect segue into my next question. I have a bunch of kids, and I can't find time to find my own joy meter. I'm too busy taking care of them. I have a husband, and he's like a kid. He's pulling at me, because men, they're needy. So,
Yeah.
you know, you get these needy men, and because they looking for a mama. So if you got that kind of man and you got all these kids, but you can't find that joy meter because they don't give you a chance to even know that it even exists, where do I go?
You need to be
What do I
selfish
do?
with your time, because if you don't do it, you won't be around to do anything for anybody. I had a practice of getting up at 5:30 every morning and going outside and walking to keep my joy meter up. So that way I was able to deal with the kids, the husband, and everything. So you have to be selfish, not selfish. You have to take care of yourself. You have to make time for that. And then to be able to put firm boundaries against people and things that take your joy from you. And be very firm about it.
Okay?
Birthright. 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 So I want you to repeat after me. I am important.
I am important.
I don't believe you.
I am
I'm
important.
going to say it again. I need you to say it like you mean it. I am important.
I am important.
I am valuable.
I am valuable.
I am lovable.
I am lovable.
I am important.
I am important.
I am valuable.
I am valuable.
I am lovable.
I am lovable.
Now look to the person next to you. You are important.
You are important.
You are valuable.
You are valuable.
And you are lovable.
And you are lovable.
Look to the person on the other side. You are important.
You are important.
You are valuable.
You are valuable.
And you are lovable.
And you are lovable.
We just affirmed ourselves and those next to us. We have to affirm ourselves. Affirming things counters some negatives. It counters that negative narrative that we have been sent as African American people, that we are not good enough. We literally have to reprogram ourselves from the inside out. What we do on the inside is reflected on the outside. If you are toxic on the inside, it's going to manifest itself in the physical. You can see toxicity coming out of people. Something that I wanted to say earlier is your energy precedes you. Before you walk into a room, you have an energy around you, and it bumps into. Have you ever walked past somebody and their energy was like not good, and you walk by like, ooh, get that off of me. Your energy, our energy, is the same way. So what energy are you sending out? Remember your birthright. Repeat it to yourself. Affirm it, confirm it, visualize it. Those are some of the things that you can do to begin to love thyself on the inside. What's on the inside is going to manifest on the outside. Men, the type of men that you would want, I don't know what type of men. Maybe, you're looking for the muscular person that, with the six-pack, and that's all you're looking for. But if you're looking for something more than that, work on the inside.
All right. So I'm really glad that we had a moment to really own that. I think taking ownership of your birthright is number one. And again, it's not based on a feeling, it's based on a fact.
Yes.
We got to get that, because there's days when you're not going to feel it, but you still got to own it and walk in it and stand in it. There's two things I would encourage that will help you to stand in your birthright. One is, ladies, spend less time comparing yourselves and more time looking inward and finding what's true about you to celebrate your strengths and affirming them. A quick tool I can give you that I think will be very helpful to affirm what you just heard Marquis share is, I want you to think of an AM FM radio, the old school kind. Y'all know the kind we got to dial in and the line go, the little red line. You remember those? How many remember those? Okay, so check it out. You got an AM station. That stands for affirming messages. You got an FM station. That stands for failure messages. Now, if you think about the radio back in the day, it was easier to dial into what? AM or FM? Always FM. So what I'm saying is that because of our history, we have a quicker mindset that defaults to the FM. We automatically can look in the mirror and say what's not right enough, good enough, pretty enough, so quick. We don't have to think about it. In fact, sometimes it's a automatic negative pattern of thinking that becomes a habit. What we can do, my tip is, think about, okay, I'm gonna have to be more self-aware to dial in and listen for the AM. So when the FM comes through the failure message, you gotta go whoop whoop. Let me dial that back to an AM and shift your thought and go, okay, because the FM will come. The failure message will show up, guaranteed, and he'll go get his friends or hers, whatever. They have a party. I'm telling you, one will lead to the next, these automatic negative thoughts. I call them ants, automatic negative thoughts, plural. You get one, oh, I ain't so pretty. Well, dang, well, look at, man, if I could only be just a little bit, this, or, oh gosh, I don't even know why I try. And it just is a string reaction of ants. But this is what I'm saying. Who puts their hand on the dial to change it? Say, I do. So you got to change your dial. When that FM comes in, you go, let me find my little AM and zero in on something good, true, and positive about me. And then you celebrate that and stop waiting for others, especially ladies, men, to celebrate what is already true about you. Please take the time to turn it inward and go, I can throw a party. I can dial into my AM station and find a good tune. Okay? All right. That's
okay. Thank you so much. So just remember what I heard today. These three wonderful panelists. What I heard them say today was, first of all, make sure. I like what you said, Nancy, about as far as being selfish, taking control of yourself, and not letting anybody rob you of that. Remember, what was our favorite saying? Now we already got a favorite saying. Be what it is that you want. Remember that. Nicole, she's saying the beauty is in you already. You got to work on it, and it's work. You're not going to walk out here today, but start working on it today. Because if you don't start today, you'll never see it. So start today, working on the beauty that's already in you. When you walk around these sisters today, feel good about being around them. Speak